Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi received at the airport by his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim over landing in Kuala Lumpur. Tells the diaspora that India is seen as a trusted partner for growth by many nations. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal says India has secured a zero-duty access for a wide range of its US exports under the Interim Trade Agreement framework. Donald Trump terms the talks with Iran as very good. Iran says its missile program is non-negotiable. Talks to continue next week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the US wants the war with Russia to end by June. Says both sides have been invited to the US for talks next week. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun his two-day visit to Malaysia aimed at strengthening strategic, cultural and people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Modi was accorded a warm welcome by his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim in Kuala Lumpur. DD India correspondent Meghna Dev reports.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Kuala Lumpur on a two-day official visit to Malaysia, where he was personally received by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. In a rare gesture of camaraderie, the two leaders travelled together in the same car to an Indian Diaspora event in the Malaysian capital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi later participated in a grand Indian community reception. Over 800 artists performed Indian traditional dances on stage, a performance that entered the Malaysian Book of Records as the largest of its kind in the country.
Friends, we have people from all parts of India here. The threads of cultural unity bind us strongly. Our strength is we understand unity in diversity.
And really it is a great honor to see such a extravaganza development perspective strategies in near future.
Actually, this is a big occasion for all of Indians staying here in Malaysia. Actually, we represent Indian expat community we belong to. And for the last 10-15 years, we can see the difference what PM Modi has made in the life of Indian expats over here.
Describing India-Malaysia ties as a partnership for the future, Prime Minister Modi coined the acronym IMPACT, India-Malaysia Partnership for Advancing Collective Transformation, and called upon the diaspora to contribute to the visions of Viksit Bharat and Malaysia Madani.
India's success is Malaysia's success. It is Asia's success. That is why I say the guiding word of our relationship is impact. Impact means India-Malaysia partnership for advancing collective transformation.
Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim also highlighted his bond with the Indian community in Malaysia and called himself fortunate to be a great personal friend of Prime Minister Modi.
Prime Minister Modi ji, I followed your struggle, your political tribulations, and may I say this, I am fortunate to be a great personal friend of Modi ji of India.
Malaysia is home to over 2.9 million people of Indian origin, the third largest Indian diaspora in the world. Recent initiatives include extending OCI card facilities up to the sixth generation and the replenishment of the Indian Scholarships Trust Fund with 3 million ringgit for Malaysian Indian students. With 3 million ringgit for Malaysian Indian students.
The vibrant display of Indian classical and folk dance forms reflected India's rich cultural heritage and the strong emotional connect of overseas Indian community with their roots. The achievement added a historic cultural dimension to the community events, highlighting the role of cultural diplomacy. DD India correspondent Meghna Dev caught up with the director of the ICCR Kuala Lumpur and the excited artists who performed there. Listen in.
An extravagant cultural performance that made it to the Malaysia Book of Records. To talk more on this, we're joined in by the ICCR director here in Kuala Lumpur. Ma'am, what's the feeling like?
It's an incredible feeling because there can be no other living proof of the kind of cultural bridge that exists between Malaysia and India. And these 800 dancers who have worked day and night for it have proved it.
How many days of practice, how many types of dances, and how long these girls have been, our performance have been learning it?
We have showcased 7 classical dances from Bharatnatyam, Odissi, Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, Kathakali, Yakshagana, and in addition to that, we have also showcased many folk dances of India, which includes Punjabi, Bhangra, Rajasthani, Bihu. So what not is there?
So, what kind of feeling it is to get this award in front of both the Prime Ministers?
Amazing, amazing. And it is, I give all the credit. The credit is not ICCR's or opinion. The credit goes to all these dancers here who have performed.
The feeling is so real. This is my first ever performance in Malaysia. I am from India. I came year ago here, and today it's my greatest opportunity to dance in front of honorable Prime Ministers.
Yes.
And this, I would have never expected to get this from Malaysia. Thank you so much, Prime Minister of Malaysia. Thank you, Modi ji. We love you a lot.
Well, I'm so excited about it, and in front of the Modi ji, our Malaysian dancers have performed and became a Malaysian Book of Record. It really brings, it's amazing. We are so thrilled about it.
And India is steadily emerging as a key player in the global AI landscape, shifting from code services to intelligence creation. Backed by major investments, supportive policies and a vast talent base, 2026 positions the country as a rising AI hub. Our next report has the details.
India finds itself at a defining convergence of policy, massive corporate capital, and demographic muscle, effectively positioning the nation as a formidable global hub for AI. No longer content with merely servicing the code that runs the world, India is now on the path to building the intelligence that will define it. The shift is perhaps best quantified by the staggering flow of capital. In what is being termed a watershed moment for Indian tech, major global players have placed bets on the country's AI potential. Microsoft has committed $17.5 billion to India over 4 years to expand AI infrastructure and cloud capacity. This isn't an isolated move. Google has followed suit with a $15 billion commitment specifically targeted at establishing AI-ready data centers. These investments are not just for maintenance, they are for creation, signaling that the focus has shifted from experimentation to large-scale deployment. While Silicon Valley giants provide the capital, New Delhi is providing the rails. The government's India AI mission, with a budget exceeding 10,000 crore rupees, has moved from cabinet approval to execution. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's budget announcement introducing a 21-year tax holiday in return for setting up data centers in India was designed to boost growth in the AI and IT spaces. This policy could do for India's cloud and data center ecosystem what the IT services incentives did in the early 2000s. If data is the oil of the AI age, talent is the refinery. According to the Stanford AI Index report, India continues to lead the world in AI skill penetration and talent concentration. With an aim to skill 20 million Indians by 2030, corporate giants like Microsoft are stepping in to bridge the readiness gap by creating a workforce capable of navigating the the complex layer between AI algorithms and real-world application. For NVIDIA CEO, India is one of the few countries with the data, talent, and the market scale to build its own AI future.
India not only welcomed data center companies to India, but also build data centers in India by Indian companies.
From powering tax systems with Gen AI to deploying autonomous agricultural drones, India is moving from an adopter to an innovator. In 2026, that future looks less like a prediction and more like a plan in motion. Bureau Report, DD India.
Poland's Deputy Foreign Minister is on a two-day visit to India. He held meetings with his Indian counterpart. He spoke to DD India's Jessica Tanecha about the India-EU Free Trade Agreement and a potential defense agreement. Listen in.
India and the EU concluded a free trade agreement after nearly 2 decades of negotiations. What, according to you, got it across the finish line?
I think we realized that it's quite important that given that between India and the EU we would form a bloc of 2 billion people, that we should cooperate, because it's the competition and the new tariffs are making life difficult. That's why the EU also concluded a treaty with Latin America, with South America, with Mercosur, although that is more contested. It gives us a huge possibility to grow our businesses. Artificial barriers to trade do not help to grow economies.
You said the trade deal with Mercosur is still pending because it has to be ratified by the European Council and the European Parliament. That is looking at a potential deadlock. How confident are you that the India-EU FTA will be ratified both by the European Parliament and then, of course, proceed to the European Council for final implementation?
That's a completely different deal. First of all, in a very pragmatic way, the Secretary of Commerce of India and the negotiators on the European Union side decided to concentrate on something which can be achieved. Every contentious issue was deliberately excluded from the deal because we don't have to agree on everything. We just have to agree on enough for the deal to make sense. And therefore it will not be contested in the European Parliament, because actually it makes lots of sense. Mercosur was different because there were some provisions in the deal which seriously harm some European countries.
Poland has 44 billion euros additional money on defense spending, as you had pointed out. How are you planning to engage the Indian industries for potential partnerships in the future?
We're talking with India now that the EU also signed security and defense agreements with India, so India can be included in the spending of this 44 additional billion euros, because India is interested in our drones, India is interested in our radar systems, in our movable anti-missile systems. We are interested in producing satellites in India. So we are interested in Indian artillery shells, in some other matters, and some things we are looking at Indians producing in Poland, some things Poles producing in India.
And still to come up on DD India News Hour, India-US interim trade agreement gets a thumbs up from the industry. A new storm hits the Iberian Peninsula in Europe.
Food systems contribute to a third of global planet warming emission. In today's episode, let's take a look at what happens when food systems stop working for everyone.
After Hati Bandhu arrived, we discussed as a village the challenge that we were facing, and we came to the conclusion that we should sow some crops, especially for the elephants.
The Meramok Cafe is basically promoting the circular economy. So there's not much transportation involved in that process. So this is one way that we are reducing the carbon emission from that point of view.
Is probably laughing because despite the fact that they're cleaning up other people's problems for free, it seems like nobody here actually wants them to be doing it.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Amritpal Singh. Let's take a look at what follows further. India and the United States have announced that they have reached a framework for an interim agreement regarding reciprocal and mutually beneficial trade. India's Commerce and Industry Minister shared the India-US joint statement, which said that the framework reaffirms the country's commitment to the broader US-India bilateral trade agreement negotiations launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump on the 13th of February last year, which will include additional market access commitments and support more resilient supply chains. DD India's Dheeraj Das brings you this report.
The United States and India unveiled a framework for an interim trade agreement focused on reciprocal and mutually beneficial commerce, marking a notable advance in bilateral economic relations. Listed below are key elements highlighted in the joint statement. India will eliminate or reduce tariffs on all US industrial goods and a wide range of US food and agricultural products, including dried distillers' grains, red sorghum for animal feed, tree nuts, fresh and processed fruit, soybean oil, wine and spirits. US will apply a reciprocal tariff of 18% on goods originating from India, covering categories such as apparel, leather, footwear, plastics, rubber, organic, chemicals, decor, artisanal items and machinery. India will also get exemptions under Section 232 on aircraft parts, tariff rate quota on auto parts and negotiated outcomes on generic pharmaceuticals, leading to tangible export gains in these sectors. The US and India commit to provide each other preferential market access in sectors of respective interest on a sustained basis. As per the statement, US and India will establish rules of origin that ensure benefits of the agreement accrue predominantly to the United States and India. Both countries will address non-tariff barriers that affect bilateral trade. India will also fix long-standing hurdles for US medical devices. US and India intend to discuss their respective standards and conformity assessment procedures for mutually agreed sectors. As per the joint statement, should either country alter its tariffs after implementation, the other may adjust its commitments accordingly. US and India will work towards further expanding market access opportunities through the negotiations of BTA. During negotiations, US will consider India's request to keep lowering tariffs on Indian goods. As per the joint statement, India and the US will strengthen their alignment on supply chain resilience, investment screening, export controls, and actions that counter non-market trade practices by third countries. India intends to purchase $500 billion of US energy products, aircraft and aircraft parts, precious metals, tech products, and coal for next 5 years. Both sides will also boost trade in tech products like graphics processing units (GPUs) for data centers and expand joint tech cooperation. The statement further says US and India will commit to address discriminatory or burdensome practices and other barriers to digital trade and set a clear pathway to achieve robust, ambitious, and mutually beneficial digital trade rules as part of the agreement. India and the United States will promptly implement this framework and work towards finalizing the interim agreement with a view to concluding a mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement consistent with the roadmap agreed in the terms of reference. Dheeraj Das for DD India.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Saturday briefed the media on the India-US interim agreement framework. Protecting the interests of Indian farmers, no concessions have been extended to sensitive agricultural sector and dairy sector in the agreement. More details in this report.
The framework for an interim agreement between India and the United States is set to unlock access to a vast $30 trillion market for Indian exporters. The agreement will deliver significant benefits to India's MSMEs, farmers and fishermen, while the resulting surge in exports is projected to generate millions of new employment opportunities, particularly for women and youth across the country. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal hailed the development as a historic milestone, saying that the day would be etched in history. He highlighted the scale of opportunity for Indian exporters in the US through this agreement.
आज का दिन स्वर्णिम अक्षरों में लिखा जाएगा। यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका जो दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है, लगभग $30 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था, अब हमारे निर्यातकों के लिए मोस्ट प्रिफर्ड ड्यूटी के साथ खुलती है।
The minister made it clear that interests of farmers have been fully protected and no concession has been granted to India's sensitive sectors like dairy and agriculture.
जो वस्तु भारत में सेंसिटिव है, हमारे किसान पर्याप्त मात्रा में बनाते हैं, जिसमें हम आत्मनिर्भर हैं, उन सब वस्तुओं को इस एग्रीमेंट के दायरे से बाहर रखा गया है। उसमें भारत ने कोई छूट नहीं दी है।
Piyush Goyal also outlined key product categories which will enjoy zero duty access under the India-US Interim Trade Agreement framework. He further noted that a broad range of agricultural products will benefit from zero reciprocal tariffs, providing a major boost to India's agri-exports.
अब शून्य ड्यूटी लगेगी जब हमारे निर्यातक अमेरिका में, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका में सामान भेजेंगे। किसानी क्षेत्र के उत्पाद अब भारत से शून्य ड्यूटी पर अमेरिका में जा सकेंगे और जिसका भारत के निर्यात को फायदा होगा।
Emphasizing strategic cooperation, the Commerce Minister added that India and the United States are jointly working to establish resilient supply chains to ensure uninterrupted access to critical minerals, thereby strengthening industrial growth and economic security.
And we are a part of Pact Silica, the US-led initiative, which is working to develop alternate sources of critical minerals, which is working to create resilient supply chains to ensure uninterrupted supply of critical minerals to support industry and support economies around the world.
The agreement reinforces the shared commitment of India and the United States to deepen economic engagement, foster sustainable growth, and create long-term opportunities for businesses and people in both the nations. Bureau Report, DD India.
And the interim agreement has drawn strong support from the industry. The agreement is expected to boost market access, strengthen Make in India and reduce trade barriers. Industry leaders say that the interim pact could open new opportunities and deepen India-US economic ties.
The India-US Interim Trade Agreement has received a strong welcome from leaders and industry, with expectations of greater market access and new economic opportunities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the agreement as great news for both India and the United States. Thanking US President Donald Trump, Prime Minister said the framework reflects growing depth, trust and dynamism of India-US partnership. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also welcomed the agreement, saying it would help realize a mutually beneficial trade partnership while ensuring greater market access for Indian exporters and boosting Make in India. Industry bodies have termed the agreement a major step towards reducing trade barriers and strengthening bilateral economic cooperation, with expectations of a boost to key Indian exports.
Apart from corporates, a large number of MSMEs also will get benefited here. And if you see our numbers, I think we have had robust SME growth, both and robust rebound in the corporate credit growth. So we believe that these trade deals and the budget announcements are going to be extremely positive for credit growth point of view.
Aircraft manufacturer Boeing called the agreement a game changer, saying it would open multifold opportunities. Under the framework, tariffs on several goods, including generic pharmaceuticals and aircraft parts, will be reduced to zero.
The details that have come out so far are along predicted lines. When it was announced about a week ago, so 18% tariffs. In some sectors, it can go down to zero also, so that is good. So this brings a lot of predictability, the biggest thing is, and stability for, businesses on both sides of the aisle, in India as well as in the United States.
Industry body FICCI also welcomed the deal, stating it would create new opportunities for industry and benefit people across sectors.
The India-US trade deal is an important step forward in advancing economic relations between two of the world's largest democracies. This partnership will lower tariffs, ease regulatory bottlenecks, and unlock new opportunities across sectors. As India strengthens its position as a global manufacturing hub, this agreement offers a timely boost to competitiveness.
With strong political backing and industry support, the India-US Interim Trade Agreement is being seen as a significant step forward in deepening economic ties between the two countries. Bureau Report, DD India.
Iran and the United States held talks in Oman with the promise to meet again next week as US President confirms to meet again to hold further talks on the nuclear deal. Iranian Foreign Minister said that Tehran prefers diplomacy but is ready for war. Mohammad Absarul Hassan has more in this report.
Iran-US talks held in Oman have concluded, with both sides agreeing to meet again next week for further negotiations. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described the nuclear talks as a positive beginning and said discussions would continue.
We are prepared to engage in negotiations as quickly as possible to reach a fair and comprehensive agreement. In my opinion, we will see the next round in the coming days. The format of the negotiations is not important. It makes no difference.
Iranian minister warned that while Tehran prefers diplomacy, the possibility of war remains. He said Iran is fully prepared for any scenario and told US negotiators that any attack on Iran would trigger strikes on American bases across the region, potentially drawing the Middle East into a wider conflict.
The possibility of war is always present and we are prepared for it. This preparedness is aimed at finding solutions that avoid war. I told the American negotiators, you have two options with us, war and diplomacy. Our option is diplomacy, but we are even more prepared for both than before, and we hope America will choose diplomacy.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said Washington held very good talks with Iran following the indirect dialogue in Oman. Briefing reporters, Trump confirmed that more negotiations are planned for early next week.
We're going to meet again early next week, and they want to make a deal, as they should want to make a deal. You know the consequences if they don't make a deal. The consequences are very steep.
Shortly after talks concluded, the United States announced new sanctions targeting shipping entities and vessels linked to Iran's oil exports. President Trump also signed an executive order that would impose tariffs on countries doing businesses with Iran. Iran and the US remain divided over uranium enrichment. Tehran is demanding recognition of its right to enrich uranium and says placing its missile program on the negotiating table would leave the country vulnerable to potentially Israeli attacks. Mohammad Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Saturday that the United States is pushing Ukraine and Russia to end the war by June. While Washington has mediated discussions, major disputes remain over territory. Russia's demand for control over eastern Ukraine and the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Zelensky warned he would not accept deals made without Ukraine's consent or any agreement that fails to prevent future Russian aggression. Portugal has put its entire coastline on orange alert, while Spain has evacuated more than 11,000 people as Storm Marta batters the Iberian Peninsula. More details in this report.
Just days after Storm Leonardo triggered deadly floods in Spain and Portugal, another storm has hit the Iberian Peninsula. Both Spain and Portugal have issued fresh flood warnings as Storm Marta brought heavy rainfall. Portugal's National Weather Agency has placed the entire coastline on orange alert due to heavy sea conditions with waves reaching up to 13 meters high. 8 of 18 districts are also on alert. Portugal has deployed over 26,000 rescuers. At least 3 regions have postponed Sunday's presidential vote till next week. Heavy rains have led to the closure of hundreds of roads, impacted train services, and forced thousands to evacuate from low-lying areas. The Portuguese government has warned that the damage from back-to-back disasters could exceed $4.7 billion. In Spain, the Civil Guard reinforced reservoirs and monitored flood-impacted roads and rivers.
If we have more heavy rainfall, we are going to have serious problems. Serious because the reservoirs will already be at 100% capacity and will have to be drained to maintain their safety range. And because the ground will no longer be able to absorb a single drop of water. Therefore, we must exercise extreme caution.
Over 11,000 people have been forced to leave their homes in the southern region alone.
On the very day they began to the city of Ronda, when they arrived here, we already had 60 beds set up, and we also had a team to care for them of professionals, psychological care, social workers.
In La Cota area, a man was seen jumping into floodwaters and attempting to swim to his business. He was rescued by the Civil Guard. Landslide alerts have been issued for mountainous regions. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has warned of difficult days due to very dangerous weather forecast. Scientists have blamed human-driven climate change for increasing the intensity and frequency of extreme weather events that have struck both the countries in recent years. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come up on DD India News Hour, why is the visit of the Prime Minister to Malaysia significant? We discuss this with a special guest on the show.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. So to talk about the Prime Minister's visit to Malaysia, Prime Minister arrived there this evening, or actually in the afternoon. We are joined on the show by Veena Sikri, former senior diplomat. Ambassador Sikri, thank you very much for being on the show. Ambassador, why is this visit of the Prime Minister to Malaysia significant? And does it have anything to do with the timing?
I think it's significant for many reasons, and I'm very glad that our Prime Minister has gone to Malaysia. I myself have served as India's High Commissioner to Malaysia for 3 years, and I think that it's important, very important, that we pay a lot of serious attention to this great country. Firstly, Malaysia is right now the chairman of ASEAN. It holds the chairmanship of ASEAN. India last year could not participate, our Prime Minister could not go for the ASEAN summit, and he promised at that time that he would be visiting Malaysia soon, and right now he is fulfilling this promise, and he has made this visit. It's his third visit since 2015. It's his third visit to Malaysia. And Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has also visited India, during which time we have established the comprehensive strategic partnership with Malaysia. And this is a very important factor. We've seen, as you're showing on your screen, that Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim himself made a very special gesture by coming to the airport to receive our Prime Minister and then taking him in his own car and to the very important address by our Prime Minister to the Indian diaspora, to the Indian community, which constitutes about 7% of the Malaysian population and is very, very dynamic. And we've seen, as you're showing in the visual, this remarkable cultural event with 800 dancers participating at the same time in this event, which is, set a record, a complete record in Malaysia. And very, very important how the Indian diaspora is doing so much to maintain their cultural links with India and, keeping up the traditions of...
Ambassador, I'll come to the diaspora. I have a question on the diaspora, but from a bilateral point of view, and also say because they're the chair, they hold the chair for the ASEAN. From that perspective, or in that context, why is this visit significant? What would the two principals, when they talk tomorrow, try and achieve?
I think, first of all, as I did say, yes, ASEAN is very important. So there's a bilateral, there's a regional, and I think, the diaspora is there as well. Before I come to ASEAN, I want to talk also a little bit about the bilateral because, I think the Malaysia's economy has grown enormously. And in critical areas like semiconductors and chips, Malaysia has achieved an enormous progress. And I think in itself is very important for India and Malaysia to develop their cooperation in this area. You know that in Malaysia, this sector, this chip sector contributes about 25% of the GDP. And if you add to it the electronics and related sectors, it is about 40% of the GDP. So I think it is quite significant that Malaysia has achieved this. They have, a huge dominance in the assembly of the chips and in the testing of the chips. And, it's known, and Penang, where this industry is concentrated, is known as the Silicon Valley of the East. And in fact, Malaysia accounts for 13% of the world global market for chips, including for packaging, assembly, and testing. So I think this just shows that in this day and age where we ourselves, India has made such an important effort and is making this very important effort to achieve, a greater participation in the assembly and manufacturing and testing of chips. That we should talk to Malaysia, work out a bilateral cooperation and see how we can do this together. Prime Minister spoke about impact, the India-Malaysia partnership for collective transformation. He gave this important word during his speech in diaspora. And I think this high-tech area of chips and assembly is very significant. So I think that surely this will be looked at in an important way in the discussions tomorrow. And I think the regional area, the collaboration between, let's say, South Asia and Southeast Asia, India's own collaboration with ASEAN. India, has the very closest possible relationship with ASEAN. We are a member of the East Asia Summit. We're a member of, our dialogue partnership has grown enormously with ASEAN, and we're looking at ways to strengthen and develop this partnership. And we really know that the what is happening with ASEAN. For example, Myanmar. Take the issue of Myanmar. Myanmar, as an important member of ASEAN, but shares a huge border with India, land border and maritime border. And we know that the conditions in Myanmar are very difficult. They've been having elections, and the army is in control, as they described as the junta is in control. But there's a huge, the NUG and so on. So it's very important for India to discuss this with Malaysia and to try and understand what ASEAN, Malaysia, the chair of ASEAN, is doing and what do they feel, what should be done in this area to bring the situation in Myanmar back to normal.
Okay. From a defense and security point of view, how important is it? You call yourselves, we say that we are comprehensive strategic partners, but when it comes to defense, apart from a bit of repairing of ships and training of Navy personnel, not much of defense cooperation is really happening. Though they sit on a very important Malacca Strait, which is a choke point, and from a strategic point of view, very, very important for the supply chains, also the wider Indo-Pacific.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right on that. And I think that the defense cooperation is very important in the bilateral context. And of course, as you mentioned, sea lanes of communication and Malacca Straits and how we should work on this together. Malaysia is a very critical member of the Indo-Pacific region. And I think this is another area in which we would be talking about, the blue economy, the Indo-Pacific, security in the Indo-Pacific. Now, Malaysia also has a dispute on this area with China as well. Of course, they are very sensitive about handling this, and they are very careful because, as you know, that in Malaysia, the Chinese community is very big and very large, and China has a very special relationship.
Yeah, they have a dispute, but they don't have a confrontational attitude towards China. They rather try and talk it and work it out through dialogue. Yeah.
That's right. So I think for us, we have to we're looking to strengthen our defense cooperation. You're right, some Navy cooperation, Air Force cooperation, the MiGs, some of their repair facilities and so on has been talked about. It exists also, but it hasn't really grown very much. I am sure that defense and security, energy, which, Malaysia is a huge petroleum and strategic technology.
Even renewable energy, Ambassador?
Yes. Yes, renewable energy, Malaysia is attaching some importance to this area, and I think some area where we could contribute because we've made huge progress in that. But I think, if you look at it in terms of the contribution of the Indian diaspora, our cooperation as part of the comprehensive strategic partnership in terms of defense cooperation, defense security, maritime security, cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region, and the critical technologies of chip assembly and testing and, learning.
Semiconductors,
Semiconductors, how we can cooperate with Malaysia in the semiconductor industry and make it grow to mutual benefit. I think these are very, very important areas of our cooperation.
We'll have to wait and watch what transpires tomorrow. We'll be watching that and tracking that very closely. Ambassador Veena Sikri, many thanks for joining us for the moment and lending us your insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired a review meeting in Jammu to assess the progress of development projects in Jammu and Kashmir. The Home Minister reviewed key sectors including road infrastructure, power, industry, tourism and digital connectivity. He reaffirmed central government's commitment to building a developed and prosperous J&K, citing unprecedented progress in development works. The Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, and the Chief Minister, Omar Abdullah, also attended the meeting. Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, has said that the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0 will prioritize indigenous chip design, their production, attracting ecosystem partners and development of talent. The minister was speaking at the Qualcomm event in Bengaluru on Saturday to announce 2-nanometer chip of the company, which has been developed in India. Holding the chip wafer in his hands, the minister described the capabilities and the precision manufacturing involved in it. The government has allocated 1,000 crore for ISM or the Semiconductor Mission 2.0 for 2026-2027 with emphasis on industry-led research and training centers to drive technology development and create a future-ready skilled workforce. The minister said that India's roadmap to advance from the current 28-nanometer manufacturing capabilities to 7-nanometer technology will be a key focus under Semicon 2.0.
We will be focusing on design as the topmost priority, equipment and materials as the next priority, talent to a next level where much deeper capability, that capability to design a complete system as a student, that will be our next target. Getting more fabs and ATMP units will also be part of the work, and making sure that our path to 7 nanometers from the current 28 nanometers, that progress to 7 nanometers will be part of the next version of Semicon 2.0. We should be able to finally complete it within next few months.
And the minister also inaugurated the Texas Instruments New Research and Development Center in Bengaluru. The new center features a collaborative workspace dedicated to developing world-class chip designs. The event also commemorated the company's 40-year presence in India, On the occasion, the minister said that Texas Instruments is a true pioneer in India's semiconductor journey. During his visit to Madhya Pradesh, Union Agriculture and Farmer Welfare Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan expressed concern over continuous low production of pulses across the country. He called for immediate attention from all states and concerned authorities, including farmers.
आज यहाँ अमलाहा में हमने एकार्डा के प्रशासनिक भवन का, किसान प्रशिक्षण केंद्र का और प्रयोगशालाओं का उद्घाटन किया। दलहन की सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत यह उत्पादन कम होता है गेहूं धान से, तो ज़्यादा उत्पादन देने वाली, क्लाइमेट रिजिलिएंट मतलब जलवायु अनुकूल और जिस पर रोगों का अटैक ना हो, जो वायरस का मुकाबला कर ले, उस तरह की दलहन की किस्मों का यहाँ विकास किया जाएगा।
And still to come up on DD India News Hour, Seychelles President arrives in Mumbai to meet business leaders. The Indian Cricket Board announces cash reward for the Under-19 team following its World Cup victory.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. Arey, it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures, and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative, from current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development, and the ever-evolving world order. DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the...
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Armed bandits shot dead at least 13 traders at a market in Nigeria's Anwar village on Friday, after storming the area and opening fire indiscriminately, according to local officials. Earlier this week, 17 people, including a police officer, were killed in a similar attack on a market in nearby Umbaikor village. The violence highlights a surge in clashes in the region driven by long-running disputes between communities over land and resources, worsened by climate stress, easy-to-access weapons, and weak state response. President of Seychelles, Dr. Patrick Hermini, who's on a 5-day visit to India, reached Mumbai today along with his wife, Veronique Hermini. The Seychelles president met India's Union Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sarbanand Sonowal, and later both attended the India-Seychelles Business Roundtable organized by the Confederation of Indian Industry. President Hermini said that the relationship between Seychelles and India has flourished over the past 50 years and that his country seeks continued partnership. Devotees gathered in large numbers at Colombo's Ganga Ramaya temple on the 4th day of the public viewing of the sacred Devni Mori relics of Lord Buddha brought from India. Pilgrims from across Sri Lanka as well as from other countries arrived to seek blessings of the sacred relics. The temple was filled with traditional chants, meditation, reflecting the message of peace, compassion and harmony taught by Lord Buddha. Indian tourists present at the site said it's a moment of pride for them, adding that India's cultural and spiritual heritage has gained global recognition under Prime Minister's leadership. They said the message of peace and compassion of Lord Buddha is reaching the world, strengthening India's soft power and global image.
I have no words to express our gratitude to send this Lord Buddha's relics to Sri Lanka. Really appreciate Indian government to send these relics to worship us.
Okay, Bangladesh's Nationalist Party chairman Tariq Rahman on Saturday warned of a crushing response to any attempts to sabotage the February 12th general election amid escalating political tensions and election-related violence. Speaking at an election rally in Nilphamari, Tariq claimed that a vested group was plotting to derail the polls after witnessing growing public support for the BNP's election symbol, the sheaf of paddy. He said the BNP victory would pave the way for major development initiatives. Political rhetoric intensified further as the National Citizen Party leader Nasiruddin Patwari alleged that the interim government had lost its balance out of fear of Tariq Rahman. Patwari made the remarks at a rally in Dhaka on Saturday. Amid growing concerns over unrest, the interim government called an emergency law and order meeting at the chief advisor's residence on Saturday evening. Violence continued during the electioneering, with at least 29 people injured in several clashes in various places across Bangladesh. President Draupadi Murmu inaugurated the Bastar Pandam 2026 festival at Lal Bagh ground in Jagdalpur, in Chhattisgarh, marking the divisional level Bastar Pandam program. Over 700 artists from 84 teams across 12 cultural disciplines are featuring at the festival. The festival aims at connecting the younger generation with their cultural roots. The president said the festival showcases Bastar's tribal cultural traditions and rich heritage.
इस वर्ष के पंडुम में 50,000 से अधिक लोगों द्वारा जनजातीय संस्कृति तथा जीवन शैली से जुड़े अनेक प्रदर्शन किए जाएंगे। बस्तर की जनजातीय संस्कृति से देशवासियों को अवगत कराने के इस महत्वपूर्ण प्रयास के लिए मैं छत्तीसगढ़ सरकार की बहुत बहुत सराहना करती हूं। बस्तर क्षेत्र में एक आकर्षक पर्यटन स्थल बनने की प्रचुर क्षमता है। यहाँ के उत्साही लोग और उनकी प्राचीन संस्कृति, प्राकृतिक सुंदरता, जल प्रपात और गुफाएं पर्यटकों को आकर्षित करने में सक्षम है।
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, or the BCCI, has announced a cash reward of 7.5 crore rupees for the Indian under-19 team after its World Cup victory. The cash prize will be given to the players, coaching staff, support staff and selectors. BCCI Secretary Devajit Saikia said that the entire country is proud of the young champions, adding that their title triumph in Harare has come at a perfect time. India were crowned the winners of the Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup for the sixth time after thumping England in the title clash at Harare on Friday. West Indies fast bowler Romario Shepherd claimed 4 wickets in 5 balls, including a hat-trick, as the twice champions thumped Scotland by 35 runs in the 2020 World Cup match in Kolkata. Chasing 183 runs for victory, Scotland were 132 runs for the loss of 5 wickets after 16 overs before Shepherd bowled a 4th wicket over running through the lower order. Scotland were all out for 147 runs in 18.5 overs. Shepherd finished with figures of 5 wickets for 20 runs, while Jason claimed the 3 wickets put into bat. West Indies posted 182 runs for the loss of 5 wickets, with Shimron Hetmyer providing the bedrock with a half century that included 6 sixes. Fahim Ashram smashed an unbeaten 29 runs off 11 balls as Pakistan scrambled past the Netherlands by 3 wickets to avoid a massive shock in the opening game of the 2020 World Cup in Colombo today. Pakistan were made to sweat as the Netherlands took a flurry of wickets to leave them needing 29 runs off the last 2 overs with only 3 wickets in hand. Pakistan's reeling reeling on 119 runs for the loss of 7 wickets after 18 overs. Fahim then hit 24, including 3 sixes off a 19th over that also saw him dropped in the deep by Max Owoth, and then completed the chase with 3 balls to spare. Earlier, the Netherlands were bowled out of 147 runs. And that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR codes that you see on your screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India News Hour. Bye-bye.